What's up, guys? Tyler Kirkwood here. I just want to give you guys an update on my no-fap, no PMO. I'm on day 14, 2 weeks, so it's kind of a decent milestone for me. I have been going through a decent amount of withdrawals. It's almost like coming off drugs. I mean, it's just like a little bit of depression and kind of anxiety and stuff like that. I have been altering my diet a little bit. I've been incorporating more corn and trying to eat more starches. And basically, my reason for this is the guy that's named Doug McDougall. If you look him up on YouTube, he's got a lot of really, really great stuff about basically eating vegan and vegetarian and eating more starches and carbohydrates and really minimizing the consumption of meat, cheese, dairy, fish, eggs, all that stuff, and consuming more carbohydrates like potatoes, corn, rice. And his argument for this is basically if you look back at all the civilizations that have came up, throughout the history of civilization, the majority of them ate starches as their main meal. So like rice for Asia, corn for the Native Americans, potatoes in some parts of Europe. So it's been a huge part of the evolution of man, and he basically makes the argument that we're designed from an evolutionary perspective or standpoint to consume the majority of our food in starches. So that was my reason for eating more corn. I feel a lot better already. I've only been doing it one day. Um, but I attribute this to basically fasting and also doing the no fat, no PMO. All of a sudden you feel better and you want to do things differently and you want to be more healthy. So that's something that I've been doing. I think one of the best points that Mr. McDougall makes is the fact that he looked back at the gladiators in Roman times, and this has also been reported by BBC and other news networks. And they studied the bones of these gladiators, and they figured out that they consumed basically only grains. And these were like the best athletes in the world at the time. So like today's modern day equivalent of this would be like an NFL player eating vegan, which I believe is pretty rare, but perhaps Tom Brady is doing it. I'm not for sure who else might be doing it, but it's definitely incredibly rare. Maybe like 1 to 3% of the population even does it or tries it. So basically, the moral of this video is that whether you start no fab, no PMO, if you're not even really into that or considering that, or if it's not relevant to you, then simply doing water fasting. Ironically, they both lead to the same result, which is eating healthier, exercising, being very conscious of your diet and how it affects the planet, stuff like that. Obviously, you end a lot of animal suffering, and yeah, that's something that I struggle with now because I still eat a little bit of cheese. Like I eat Doritos to get a bunch of corn, and in the back of my mind, I've watched all these documentaries on the factory farming, and I still can't get it out of my mind, like how horrible it is, like when a calf is taken away from the mom and is immediately killed, and the mom is just the only reason she was impregnated was just to, secrete more milk. And the strangest thing that I've been thinking about last night, like I couldn't sleep last night, and I was thinking about this for a while. But like, basically, what we're doing is, it's like imagine if you walked up on a cow and you saw a human being like literally sucking on the udder of the cow. I mean, that's pretty much what we do, and it's like, man, it just seems so bizarre and strange to me. I mean, that's pretty much exactly what we're doing, but it doesn't seem like that because it's processed and manufactured into products. But that's basically, I mean, it's basically just like sucking on the udder of a cow. It's an incredibly bizarre thing to even do, like suck on the teat or whatever of a different species of animal to get nutrition. And I think that's pretty much why all the diabetes and cancer and heart disease happens. I mean, it's very interesting that the main cancers in the United States, like breast cancer, testicular cancer, ovarian cancer, um, that's all I can really think of at the moment. But they're directly related to the reproductive organs of the human body. and the milk we're consuming is from the reproductive organs of a different species. So, to me, it's creating a pretty massive problem for the body to handle. It's like the body doesn't know what to do with it, doesn't know how to process it correctly, so basically, the reproductive organs of the human body all of a sudden just start failing. And the thing that frustrates me is I believe a lot of people, you know, say, "Oh, it's just genetics. It's a genetic thing, and there's nothing we can do about it. We can give the person chemotherapy, but if it spreads fast enough, there's nothing we can do about it." And to me, it's like, well, obviously, you could just stop eating dairy, and you can stop eating meat, and you can stop eating cheese and eggs and fish and stuff like that, and it would probably just subside. Um, Nobody really gets cancer and heart disease and diabetes in China, where they just eat the majority of their food in carbohydrates, which is rice. So this video is getting kind of longer than I anticipated, but I would highly recommend checking out Doug McDougall. He's got some great lectures on the internet, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess I could comment on the stock market. The stock market was down like 0.5% today. The the Dow Jones was down like 0.5%. The Nasdaq was down like 1%. And really, this is surprising to me because there's so much bad news in the economy. Like Macy's has been letting people go. Sears basically is going bankrupt. Toys R Us went bankrupt. JCPenney's is either closing stores or laying people off. And a lot of this is like obviously retail, and people say, "Oh well, retail isn't doing well because everything is going online." So that leads me to Amazon, and I've already discussed in the past how I feel Amazon is incredibly overvalued. But the thing that I find frustrating is, okay, so all this business is getting switched over to Amazon, and people probably make the argument, well, there's nothing really wrong with the economy. The economy is just evolving, and all these stores that are going bankrupt and closing and laying people off, it's not a big deal because the e-commerce is doing really well. And my response to that would be, well, the e-commerce is doing well, yeah, but I don't think they're making as much money as people think they're making. I think they're overvalued, and I think they're using so many robotics that they're making humans less and less relevant in the production and manufacture and logistics of various goods. So how that's good for the economy when there's no real safety net for the average worker that gets laid off or replaced by a machine. There's no real safety net other than look for a different job. And if there's all these businesses closing in their field, how are they going to have a good chance of finding a job? And that doesn't even cover the fact that the average person is significantly underpaid. I mean, wages have been stagnant for the past 20 or 30 years, and everything else has gone up in price. Homes have gone up in price, stocks, cars, education, consumer goods, food, gasoline. Well, gasoline's relatively inexpensive, but it's just hard to fathom how all the retail having significant problems, how that translates into everything being okay because e-commerce replaces it. And the other thing about Amazon I find strange is it shows very poorly on the President of the United States when he's literally just making fun of the guy after he's going through a divorce. I mean, he has no respect whatsoever for Jeff Bezos. And I find that incredibly frustrating because this is the President of the United States. And it's like he has no manners, he has no respect for human beings. It's just like, I feel like he's just always on a show. I feel like I'm still watching The Apprentice when I see him giving speeches, and I just wonder, I wonder what his motives are, and I wonder how bad the government could actually get from this point on. Because to me, it's evolving into like kind of a negative thing with the shutdown. Like things are getting worse and worse and worse, and yeah, I mean, I don't see how people can make the argument that the Amazon CEO going through a divorce can possibly be bullish for the stock. I mean, most likely she's going to sell some of her stock, so that immediately places pressure on the price of the stock. And yeah, so this video is getting pretty long, so I'm gonna stop it there. Thanks for watching. Please like if you appreciate the video, or if you you gained any knowledge or wisdom from it. And subscribe, and thank you. I'll talk to you later. Bye.